The screams reach you first. Not words, not battle cries, just raw, animal terror splitting the air as steel tears through flesh and bone. The Grand Canal runs red, not metaphorically, actually red. Bodies stack so thick in the water that soldiers cross rivers walking on corpses. A child clutches her dead mother in the ruins of Chang'an, the greatest city on earth, now a crematorium of smoke and ash. 36 million souls. Gone. That number doesn't compute, does it? Your mind rejects it. But here's the truth that history tried to bury. In 8 years of hell, ancient China lost more people than the entire population of medieval Europe. This wasn't a war. This was the apocalypse wearing human skin. And it started with a dance. If you want to witness the true face of human civilization, the glory and the horror, the triumph and the blood, then join us. Subscribe. Because the stories we uncover here don't just teach history, they reveal who we really are when everything burns. The year is 755. Tang Dynasty China stands at the absolute zenith of human achievement. While Europe stumbles through its dark ages, Chang'an, the empire's beating heart, pulses with 1 million souls. 1 million. The largest city humanity has ever built. Its streets flow with silk traders from Persia, Buddhist monks from India, musicians from Korea, dancers from Central Asia. 40 different languages echo through its markets. This is the Rome of the East. No, it's bigger than Rome ever dreamed. Emperor Xuanzong sits on the dragon throne, master of 50 million subjects, ruler of an empire that stretches from the steppes of Mongolia to the jungles of Vietnam. He is the son of heaven. The mandate of the gods burns in his veins. For 40 years, his dynasty has transformed China into a paradise of poetry, art, and prosperity. Taxes are low, granaries overflow. The Silk Road pumps wealth into every province like arterial blood. But paradise has a rot at its core. Xuanzong is 70 years old. Once sharp as a blade, now soft as morning mist. He spends his days not governing but drowning in the eyes of Yang Guifei, his concubine, his obsession, his absolute destruction. Yang Guifei is 27, beautiful beyond poetry, skin like white jade, movements like water, voice like wind through bamboo. Xuanzong doesn't just love her, he worships her. He's given her family unlimited power. Her cousin Yang Guozhang now controls the imperial administration, like a parasite controls a dying host. Every position can be bought, every law can be bent, every objection can be silenced. The empire's backbone, its meritocracy, its discipline, its Confucian honor crumbles into corruption. And watching all this with eyes like winter ice is a man named An Lushan. An Lushan is a monster disguised as a teddy bear. 300 pounds of muscle and fat wrapped in jolly smiles and theatrical performances. He's a soldier from the northern frontier, a general of mixed Sogdian and Turkic blood, an outsider who clawed his way into the empire's inner circle through sheer brutality and cunning. He commands 200,000 troops along the northeastern border, battle-hardened killers who worship him like a god. He's fought the Khitans, crushed rebellions, brought glory to the empire, while the capital drowns in silk and wine. The court thinks he's a loyal dog, a useful barbarian. They laugh at his crude jokes, his exaggerated kowtowing, his gifts of exotic horses. Yang Guifei even adopts him as her son. In a bizarre ceremony, this hulking warlord kneeling before a concubine half his age, playing the fool. But when An Lushan returns to his frontier command, away from the perfumed halls of Chang'an, the mask drops. His officers see a different man, cold, calculating, hungry. He drills his troops with savage efficiency. He hoards weapons. He forges alliances with steppe nomads. He watches the empire's soft underbelly with the patience of a predator. And he waits. The empire doesn't see the storm gathering because the empire has forgotten what storms look like. Xuanzong composes poetry for Yang Guifei. The aristocracy competes in extravagance, thousand-guest banquets, jade-studded palaces, gardens that cost more than provinces. The imperial court is a beautiful theater production where everyone's forgotten they're performing on a powder keg. The frontier generals try to warn the capital. They send reports, and Lushan is acting strange. His troop movements are suspicious. His loyalty is questionable. Yang Guozhong reads these reports and burns them. Why? Because An Lushan is his rival for imperial favor. If An Lushan falls, Yang Guozhong's power becomes absolute. So he doesn't just ignore the warnings, he actively provokes the general. He blocks An Lushan's promotions, insults him at court, spreads rumors of treason. He's poking a tiger with a stick, thinking it's declawed. It's not. And Lushan receives a summons to the capital. Yang Guozhong has convinced Emperor Xuanzong to question the general's loyalty. It's a trap. Come to Chang'an, and you'll be arrested, stripped of command, probably executed. An Lushan reads the message in his command tent on the northern frontier. Around him, his officers wait in silence. Outside, 200,000 soldiers sharpen their blades. He doesn't hesitate. He declares rebellion, not with a dramatic speech, not with philosophical justification. He simply tells his troops that Yang Guozhong has corrupted the emperor, that the dynasty has lost the mandate of heaven, that they march not as rebels but as saviors. His soldiers believe him. Why wouldn't they? They're cold, hungry, exhausted men from the frontier who've bled for an empire that treats them like disposable tools while the capital drowns in luxury. And Lushan gives them purpose. More importantly, he gives them permission to take what they've been denied. The greatest army China has ever trained turns its blades toward its own heart. They move fast, terrifyingly fast. The first province falls in 12 days. Local governors flee or join the rebellion. The imperial garrison, soft from decades of peace, crumbles like wet paper. Town after town opens its gates, either in fear or in support. Lushan's propaganda is brilliant. He's not attacking the emperor, he's saving him from corrupt advisors. He's not destroying the dynasty, he's purifying it. The refugees reach Chang'an before the official reports do. They stumble through the gates, with stories that sound like fever dreams. An army bigger than anything in living memory. Cities burning. Imperial officials hanging from city walls. And Lushan's troops moving south like a flood. Unstoppable, inevitable. Emperor Xuanzong doesn't believe it at first. How could he? And Lushan, the loyal fool, the adopted son of his beloved concubine? Yang Guozhong tells him not to worry. The rebellion will collapse on its own. And Lushan is a frontier brute. He doesn't understand siege warfare, logistics, civilized combat. Send the imperial army. They'll crush him in a month. So Xuanzong sends the imperial army. 180,000 troops march north to meet the rebels. They're led by Gao Xianji and Feng Changqing, experienced generals, proud men, confident in the superiority of imperial discipline over barbarian fury. They meet An Lushan's forces at Yongchu. It's not a battle, it's a slaughter. And Lushan's troops are wolves. The imperial army is sheep dressed in silk uniforms. Frontier soldiers who've spent 20 years killing Khitans, and Turks crash into court-appointed officers who've spent 20 years attending poetry readings. The combat is shockingly one-sided. The imperial forces break. They don't retreat, they disintegrate. Men throw down their weapons and run. Officers abandon their units. The retreat becomes a stampede, and the stampede becomes a massacre as An Lushan's cavalry runs them down like animals. 80,000 imperial troops die in the rout. The news reaches Chang'an like a physical blow. The impossible has happened. The Son of Heaven is not invincible. The mandate of heaven might actually be in question. Panic spreads through the capital like plague. Xuanzong, for the first time in decades, feels real fear. He promotes Gao Xianji, the general who just lost 80,000 men, to supreme commander and orders him to hold the Tong Pass, the mountain fortress that guards the road to Chang'an. Hold that pass, Xuanzong says, and the empire is safe. Gao Xianji knows better. He knows the imperial army is broken. He knows An Lushan's momentum is unstoppable, but he's a soldier, so he marches his remaining troops to the Tong Pass and prepares to die. But Yang Guozhong has other plans. The prime minister, desperate to deflect blame for this catastrophe, needs a scapegoat. So he accuses Gao Xianji of cowardice, of deliberately losing battles to aid the rebellion. He sends an executioner to the Tong Pass. Gao Xianzi, one of the Tang dynasty's finest generals, is beheaded in front of his own troops for the crime of failing to stop the unstoppable. The soldiers watch their commander die. They watch Yang Guozhong's corruption kill the one man who might have saved them. And they stop fighting for the empire. And Lu Shan's army storms through the Tong Pass like a river bursting through a dam. The defenders demoralized, leaderless, betrayed scatter, or switch sides. The road to Chang'an lies open. The greatest city on earth has 3 weeks to prepare for hell. Xuanzong finally understands what's coming. He can see it in the eyes of his ministers, the ones who haven't already fled. He can hear it in the silence of his generals. The Tang dynasty, his life's work, is dying, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. He makes the only choice available. He runs. In the middle of the night, the Son of Heaven abandons his throne. He takes Yang Guifei, her family, and a small guard unit. They slip out of Chang'an's western gate and ride toward Sichuan, toward the mountains, toward anywhere that isn't here. Behind them, Chang'an dissolves into chaos. The million residents realize their emperor is gone. There's no one to defend them. No plan, no hope. The wealthy pack everything they can carry and flee. The poor riot, breaking into abandoned mansions, burning government buildings. The careful social order that took centuries to build collapses in a single night. When Lu Shan's troops arrive, they find a city eating itself. They finish the job. What happens next isn't warfare. It's not even massacre. It's extinction practiced as art. And Lu Shan's soldiers pour through Chang'an like locusts. They kill men. They rape women. They smash temples. They burn libraries. The accumulated wisdom of centuries, poetry, philosophy, scientific treatises, goes up in smoke. The imperial palace, that marvel of architecture, becomes a bonfire. For 3 days, Chang'an screams. Then it goes silent. The survivors may be 100,000 of the original million huddle in ruins. And Lu Shan enters the city and declares himself emperor of a new dynasty. He sits on Xuanzong's throne wearing Xuanzong's robes, and his first decree is simple. Anyone who served the Tang dynasty is a traitor. The purges begin. But Chang'an is just the beginning. Xuanzong and his entourage flee west, but they don't get far. At a small station called Mawei, the imperial guards mutiny. They're starving, exhausted, furious, and they know who to blame. The Yang family destroyed the empire, they shout. Give us Yang Guozhong, give us Yang Guifei. Xuanzong tries to protect them. He's the emperor. His word is law. But laws mean nothing when soldiers are angry and hungry. Yang Guozhong is dragged from his carriage and hacked to pieces in the road. His head is mounted on a spear. Then the soldiers turn to Yang Guifei. She's hiding in a Buddhist temple, praying to gods who've already abandoned China. The guard commander enters and kneels before her. He's weeping. Your Highness, he says, the troops demand your death. If you don't die, they'll kill the emperor. She understands. She's always been smarter than anyone gave her credit for. Yang Guifei, the most beautiful woman in China, the obsession that started this war, walks calmly to a silk rope. She fashions a noose, and in that small temple, while China burns around her, she hangs herself. Xuanzong finds her body. The man who once ruled 50 million souls collapses next to his dead concubine and sobs like a child. His guards have to physically drag him away. He'll survive another 5 years, but he's already dead, just a ghost haunting his own memories. The war spreads like cancer, and Lu Shan controls the north, but the Tang dynasty isn't finished. Xuanzong's son, Prince Li Heng, declares himself emperor in the western territories. He gathers loyalist forces. He makes deals with Uyghur tribes, promising them gold and Chinese women in exchange for cavalry support. The empire is now split. 2 emperors, 2 armies, and caught between them. 40 million civilians who just want to survive. They don't. The battlefields multiply. Luoyang falls, rises, falls again. Each time a city changes hands, the new conquerors purge the old collaborators. Anyone who served the previous regime is a traitor. Executions become routine. Mass graves become normal. The professional armies bleed out, so both sides start conscripting. Farmers become soldiers overnight. Boys who've never held a sword are handed rusty blades and pushed toward enemy lines. Most die in their first battle. The survivors become efficient killers. Combat loses all discipline. No one remembers what they're fighting for: loyalty, glory, survival. They just know that if they stop killing, they'll be killed. And then the famine starts. War has destroyed the agricultural calendar. Fields go unplanted. Irrigation systems collapse. The Grand Canal, the empire's economic lifeline, becomes a contested battleground. Grain shipments stop. Food stockpiles vanish into hungry armies. By 758, entire provinces are starving. People eat bark. They eat leather. They eat dirt mixed with grain husks, trying to fill stomachs that will never be full again. Parents abandon children because they can't feed them. Children eat their dead parents because there's nothing else left. Cannibalism stops being a taboo and becomes a survival strategy. Cities under siege face impossible choices. Luoyang, the eastern capital, changes hands 6 times. Each siege lasts months. The civilians trapped inside watch the food run out, then the horses, then the dogs, then the rats, then each other. There are reports credible, documented reports of human meat being sold in markets, of soldiers eating prisoners, of the living eating the dead, then killing the living to have more dead to eat. This is what happens when civilization's thin veneer burns away. Underneath, we're just animals, hungry, desperate, capable of anything. And Lu Shan, the man who started this apocalypse, is going blind and insane. Maybe it's a disease. Maybe it's guilt, though he's never shown capacity for that emotion. He sits in the captured Chang'an Palace, 300 pounds of paranoid rage, seeing conspiracies everywhere. He trusts no one, not his generals, not his advisors, especially not his oldest son. And Qingshu watches his father descend into madness and makes a simple calculation. If he doesn't act, and Lu Shan will kill him in a paranoid purge. So one night, An Qingshu creeps into his father's bedroom with a sword, and Lu Shan wakes to find his son standing over him. "What are you doing?" he asks. And Qingshu doesn't answer. He just swings. The man who destroyed the Tang dynasty dies choking on his own blood, murdered by his own child. And Qingshu declares himself emperor of the new dynasty, and immediately proves he inherited his father's military genius, but none of his charisma. The rebellion starts fracturing. Generals defect, allies desert. The unified army that once seemed unstoppable splinters into competing warlords. The Tang loyalists sense opportunity. With Uyghur cavalry support, they start retaking cities. But this isn't liberation, it's just new conquerors replacing old ones. The Uyghurs don't fight for free. They want payment. And when the Tang treasury is empty, they take payment in plunder. When they retake Luoyang, they spend 3 days looting, raping, and murdering. The loyalist liberation is indistinguishable from the rebel occupation. There are no heroes in this war, just different flavors of horror. The battlefields have consumed so many men that both sides are running out of soldiers. They conscript anyone with a pulse, old men, young boys, criminals, monks. It doesn't matter. If you can hold a weapon, you march. Most don't march home. A soldier named Zhang Wei, there's no record of him, but there were 10,000 men just like him as conscripted from his village at age 16. He's never been more than 10 miles from home. He doesn't understand politics, or loyalty, or imperial mandates. He just knows that men with swords came and said he had to fight. They give him 3 weeks of training. Mostly it's learning how to not immediately die when cavalry charges. His first battle is a small skirmish near a river whose name he doesn't know. The fighting lasts 20 minutes. Half his unit is killed. Zhang Wei survives because he hides under corpses while the cavalry rides over him. He fights in 6 more battles over 2 years. He watches his friends die. He kills men whose faces he can still see when he closes his eyes. He eats food that isn't food. He walks through cities that have been burned so thoroughly that human ash covers everything like gray snow. He stops feeling anything. Fear, guilt, compassion, they all bleed out until he's just a machine that marches and kills and marches some more. In his final battle, an arrow catches him in the stomach. It's not a heroic death. He lies in mud for 6 hours, crying for his mother, before infection finishes him off. No one knows his name. No one records his death. He becomes one more tally mark in history's bloodiest ledger. Multiply Zhang Wei by 36 million. That's the math of this war. The war ends not with a climactic battle, but with exhaustion. Everyone is too broken to keep fighting. The rebel forces, now led by a succession of increasingly desperate generals, finally collapse. The Tang dynasty technically wins. Emperor Daizong Xuanzong's grandson now sits on the restored dragon throne in Chang'an. But winning is a cruel joke. The Chang'an that Daizong reclaims isn't the city of 1 million souls. It's a cemetery with buildings. Maybe 100,000 people remain, haunting ruins that were once the world's greatest metropolis. The imperial palace is ash. The libraries are gone. The silk markets are empty. The census tells the terrible truth. Before the rebellion, Tang Dynasty China had 52 million registered citizens. After the rebellion, 16 million. 36 million people are gone. Some died in combat. Most died of famine, disease, exposure. Some fled beyond the empire's borders and never returned. Some were never counted in the first place. They were women, children, slaves, people the bureaucracy didn't care about until they weren't there anymore. The provinces are wastelands. Entire regions report zero tax revenue because there's no one left to tax. Villages that stood for 1,000 years are empty. Farmland has returned to wilderness. The Grand Canal, that engineering marvel that united North and South, is broken. The irrigation systems are shattered. The postal roads are bandit kingdoms. The empire survives in name only. Real power now belongs to the provincial warlords, the generals who carved out their own territories during the chaos and have no intention of surrendering their autonomy. The Tang dynasty will limp on for another 150 years, but it's a zombie. The golden age is over. The centralized imperial power is gone. China has fragmented, and it will stay fragmented until the Song dynasty reunites it centuries later after even more bloodshed. The Uyghurs, those loyal allies, now dictate terms to the emperor they supposedly serve. They demand tribute. They demand trade concessions. They demand Chinese princesses as diplomatic marriages. The proud Tang dynasty has become a vassal to its former subordinates. The Silk Road, that artery of trade and culture, never fully recovers. The networks of trust that took centuries to build were destroyed in 8 years. Merchants don't venture into a land of warlords and bandits. The Buddhist monasteries, which thrived during the Tang Golden Age, face persecution. The government blames them for not stopping the war as if prayer could halt cavalry charges. Thousands of temples are closed. Monks are forcibly defrocked. Scriptures are burned. The cultural renaissance that made Tang China humanity's beacon goes dark. Poetry continues, but it's different now. No more celebrations of imperial glory. Instead, Li Bai's drunken laments, Du Fu's devastating observations of human suffering, Bai Juyi's song of everlasting sorrow, mourning Yang Guifei and the paradise that died with her. The optimism is gone. Chinese philosophy shifts from Confucian confidence to Buddhist resignation and Taoist withdrawal. When civilization betrays you this thoroughly, you stop believing in it. The survivors carry scars that never heal. There's a woman named Li again, nameless in history, but representing millions who lived through the siege of Luoyang. She watched her husband die in the first year, her son in the second, her daughter in the third taken by soldiers. Fate unknown. When peace finally comes, Li is 43 years old and looks 70. She returns to her hometown to find nothing. The house is gone. The neighbors are dead or scattered. The temple where she married is burned. She builds a small hut from scavenged wood and lives alone. Every day, she walks to the mass grave outside town and burns incense for people whose names she can barely remember. She lives another 20 years. She never speaks about the war. When younger people ask her about it, she just shakes her head and walks away. Some wounds don't heal. Some memories don't fade. Some silences are too full of screaming. The end that never heals. The Anlushan rebellion ended in 763 CE, but its echoes never stopped. Chinese historians would spend the next 1,000 years trying to understand how it happened, how the most powerful empire on earth collapsed into barbarism so quickly. They'd write elaborate treatises blaming Yang Guifei's beauty and Lushan's ambition, Xuanzong's weakness. But those are just stories we tell ourselves to pretend we understand chaos. The truth is simpler and more terrifying. Civilization is thin ice. We walk on it confidently, forgetting there's an abyss underneath. It takes so long to build centuries of culture, law, trust, prosperity, and it takes one ambitious general, one weak emperor, one cascade of bad decisions to shatter it all. The people of Tang China didn't think they were living in the end times. They thought they were at the peak, history's winners, the mandate of heaven's chosen people, right up until the ice cracked, and they plunged into 8 years of hell. And here's the lesson that history keeps teaching, but we keep refusing to learn. It can happen again. It can happen anywhere. Every golden age carries the seeds of its own destruction. Every paradise has a serpent. Every empire is one bad generation away from collapse. The Anlushan rebellion killed more people than the Mongol conquests, more than the fall of Rome, more than World War I. For 7 centuries, it stood as the deadliest conflict in human history. 36 million souls. Each one a person who woke up one morning thinking they'd see another day. Each one with hopes, fears, loves, dreams, each one erased. The numbers are too big to feel, so don't think about 36 million. Think about one. Think about Zhang Wei dying in the mud, calling for his mother. Think about Li burning incense at a mass grave, mourning people she couldn't save. Think about Yang Guifei hanging herself in a temple while an empire burned because men desired her. Think about how quickly everything beautiful can become ash. The ruins of Tang China were eventually rebuilt. The wounds eventually scarred. Life continues, because life always continues, not because we deserve it, but because stopping isn't an option. But something was lost in those 8 years that could never be recovered. China would rise again. It would build new dynasties, new golden ages. But it would never again have that Tang dynasty confidence, that absolute certainty in its own permanence. The Anlushan rebellion taught China what it taught every civilization that's ever walked the ice and felt it crack. Nothing lasts, not empires, not golden ages, not the things you thought were eternal. All we have is now, this moment, these people, this fragile order we've managed to build from chaos, and the terrible knowledge that one day, maybe tomorrow, maybe in a century, the ice will crack again. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And this particular rhyme has played out across every continent, in every century, in every empire that thought it was immune to gravity. The faces change. The names change. The weapons grow more sophisticated. But the pattern remains. Prosperity breeds complacency. Complacency breeds corruption. Corruption breeds collapse. And collapse, real collapse, means rivers running red with blood, and mothers eating their children, and civilization burning, until there's nothing left but ghosts mourning a world that's gone. The Anlushan rebellion happened 1,270 years ago. The lessons are still fresh. The blood still hasn't washed away. And somewhere, right now, another empire stands at its peak, confident in its permanence, not hearing the ice beginning to crack beneath its feet. The dead of Tang China have nothing left to say. Their voices were silenced generations ago, mixed into the soil that now grows rice in fields that once ran red. But if you listen, really listen, you can still hear them, not as words, as a warning. A warning we'll probably ignore, because that's what humans do. We walk on ice. We tell ourselves it's solid. We build our paradises and assume they'll last forever. And then we act surprised when the ice breaks and we find ourselves drowning in the same darkness that swallowed 36 million souls in ancient China. The war is over. The blood has dried, but the lesson remains, written in ashes. Nothing gold can stay, nothing powerful lasts forever. And every civilization that's ever lived has one day joined the Tang dynasty in the graveyard of human ambition. Remember them. Remember what happens when the ice cracks. Remember that we're walking on it right now. And pray to whatever gods still listen that we're better at reading the warning signs than they were. Because, if we're not, history won't just rhyme. It will repeat. Word for bloody word.